Dear venerable brother, Dhamma friends, we are going to start the second Dhamma sermon of this Jhana Grove Vipassana retreat. So may you give your consent by saying sadhu sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Rago ko auso nimitta karano, doso nimitta karano, moho nimitta karano, ti. Dear venerable brother, Dhamma friends, yesterday we actually have taken a particular theme, that is where the certain signs causing various troubles in a way. I try to discuss from very basics, so how our eyes are capable of getting certain data, certain percepts, certain signs, certain shapes, certain colors. Similarly, how our ears are capable of getting sounds. Similarly, nose for the odors, tongue with the taste, body with tangibles, and mind with mind objects. So basically all these, how we are interacting with the world, and this is how we are dealing with the world. And yesterday we discussed how this can lead to many problems in a way. So I just thought of discussing it further, how these perceptions, how these signs, how these marks, once we taken in, can cause various troubles, various confusions in ourselves. Now, there are interesting suttas that would highlight how certain defilements are growing. For example, in the Kaya Sutta, in Bojjhanga Samyutta, he explains like this: Kocha bhikkhave aharo anuppannasava kamachandassa upadaya, uppannasava kamachandassa bhiyo bhavaya, vepullaya. Now he's asking, what is the nutriment for non-arisen sensual desire to arise? And what is the nutriment for an arisen sensual desire to grow? You can see how he is putting it. So assume that now there is no any lust, any kind of a sensual desire. So how it is growing, how it is initiating, and once it is initiated, once it is arisen, so how it is growing. So simple answer he is giving: Atti bhikkhave subha nimittang. Atti bhikkhave subha nimittang. So we see things very in a delighted way. So things are beautiful, things are sort of fantastic, wonderful. So the way we have certain kind of admiring things, so those admirable, beautiful things, signs are there. So the subha nimittang. On the other hand, he similarly explains about the other side. Kocha bhikkhave aharo anuppannasava vyapadassa upadaya. So what is the nutriment for unarisen ill will to arise? And uppannasava vyapadassa bhiyo bhavaya, vepullaya. And if there is any sort of ill will already arisen, how it is growing? What is the nutriment for that? Atti bhikkhave patika nimitta. So amongst there is this signs of ill will. So actually we are not directly dealing with objects, but what happens at the sense level, sensory level, sense base level, is that they are dealing with various signs. Actually our senses are not capable of totally capturing the object, rather it is capable of taking or picking certain signs of what we call the objects. So when we are looking at someone, so it is through eyes we pick certain signs. Whether he or she is tall, long, I would say shorten, fatten, lean. So the complexion of her skin and the figure, the shape. So any other particular marks in his or her face. So these are the certain marks, signs that we are picking during the recognition process. But in case those marks are in a way pleasing to us, appealing to us, causing certain amount of delight in us, happiness in us, pleasure in us. So then we are tempted to further look at, further come close and further admiring and coming closer and then look at. So likewise, we are being ultimately trapped in those sides. So there are suttas explaining how this complete grasping happens. Say for example, in the Samadhi Bhavana Sutta of Kanda Samyutta, so there Buddha explained, okay, monks, you got to develop concentration. Only when you are able to develop fair amount of concentration, you can see the reality. And there he explained how even this complete grasping happen, complete becoming process happen with respect to the 5 aggregates. So if I take only the perceptions aggregate, he basically explained how we go and grasp perceptions. So he simply explained like this, basically saying, Sanya abhinandati abhivadati ajjosaya tittati. So when we pick those signs, we start admiring those signs. We admire those signs. Say for example, say a young boy looking at a young girl. We can understand the situation. So once seen, if the signs, if she is beautiful, so we are picking certain signs in her, and so the boy become happy, admiring, so delighted about abhinandati abhivadati ajjosaya tittati. So again and again it comes to his mind, and now his mind is fully occupied with that, whatever the image, the figure, the face. So that becomes very much adhered to. So his mind becomes adhered to her image. So this is how the mind go and grasp it, and ultimately now he can't even sort of forget her. Again and again her face may come into mind. Now it's difficult to be without her, probably going after her, maybe asking the address. Probably you all can remember all these things. I myself can. So this is how actually we ultimately get trapped in the signs. So we started that with very little things, but these little things are capable of occupying the mind. So we had a trigger happens, those signs are capable of making a little trigger in our mind, and we further admire it, we further look at, we go closer, probably we take a picture, again and again thinking, now the other aggregates are also coming to the picture, all are helping each other, ultimately mind get trapped. So Buddha beautifully explained this. Let me put the Buddha's words here. Tassa sanyang abhinandato abhivadato ajjosaya tittato uppajjati nandi. So when mind such acquiring it, or being happy about it, admiring it, again and again welcoming it, adhering it, so then there is a delight arising. So you are become very happy, you elated, you are even smiling yourself, so you are being quite happy about it. Abhinandati abhivadati ajjosaya tittati will lead to a certain happiness in you, a delight in you. Ya sanyaya nanditang upadana. So that very delight causes the mind to go and grasp it. Upadana pacca bhava bhava pacca jati jati pacca jara marana soka parideva dukkha doma supayasa evame tassa kevalasa dukkha khandasa namudeyo. So basically the step-by-step process how this whole conditioned process happens, Buddha explained. So how you become something, you become someone because of this taking of science, admiring science, giving some value to science. So ultimately we get trapped in science. Now we are in a completely entrapped in perceptions. Now not only that, actually, say for example, now we already discussed how it can cause anger, it can cause sensual desire. So particularly for the sensual desire to grow, sensual desire to arise, so these kinds of signs are the basic reason. For anger to arise or anger to grow, so these are the basic reasons. So signs are playing a pivotal role in this our interaction with the world. And on the other hand, so if we are not mindful, if we are not maintaining any mindfulness, so the situation becomes even aggravated. Another very beautiful way that Buddha is putting it, actually Venerable Malunke Buddha is actually putting it in a nice way. Rupang Viswa Sati Mutta Piyanimittam Manasikarotu. So once someone seen a particular form and without any mindfulness, he doesn't have any sort of a mindfulness, he simply look at. And there is no operation of any Dhamma, any sort of mindfulness. And he simply look with muddled mindfulness. Piyanimittam Manasikarotu. And he picks these beautiful signs, the triggering signs. And again, now his mind is going to that. Saratta Chitto Vedeti, Tancha Ajjosaya Tittati. So how he is looking at it is very much like with an infatuated mind, so trapped mind. Saratta Chitto Vedeti, Tancha Ajjosaya Tittati. Now mind is adhered to that, mind already trapped in that. Tassavaddanti Vedana Aneka Rupa Sambhava. Now, as a result of that particular form, again and again admiring, again and again associating, certain different feelings are also now arising. Abhijjacha vihesacha, chitta masu pahanyati. Now, certain other defilements are now arising. So, covetousness, you want, you desire it, and on the other hand, probably the opposite, you have a certain resistance to it, or certain despair related to it, anger towards it. The opposite also can possible, both extremes. With respect to whatever the form, abhijjaja vihesaja, chittamasu pahanyati. So mind become some fairly agitated. Evang achinato dukkham, ara nibbana uchati. So the fair amount of suffering is arising, agitation is arising, friction is arising, burdening is happening in the mind, and we are going away from the peacefulness. We are going away from Nibbana. Ara Nibbana Uchati. Particularly when there is no mindfulness at all. So the same is repeated for other senses also. I am just referring here what happened with respect to the eye, but same is true for ears. Whenever we see or hear a sound, same situation happens. Suppose there is some sort of song that while we are walking, assume that a particular song being heard. So if we feel delighted, then we immediately start further thinking and ultimately sort of appreciating, and ultimately mind get trapped in it, delighted in it, and we become completely engulfed in it, completely enveloped in it, lost in it. Similarly, the odors, the taste, tangibles, even the mental objects. So unmindfulness is another area which aggravates the situation. If you have no mindfulness at all, if you are simply allowing the senses to operate the way as they want, not having any established mindfulness, the situation becomes very much like not governable, and ultimately we continuously get victimized to this whole process. So who is in a way responsible internally for this whole process? It is not a person in a way. There is no any person doing it. Rather, our minds are fairly conditioned with raga, dosa, moha. Internally our minds are programmed with or conditioned with certain defilements. So they are the ones in a way responsible for this whole process. So it's another very deep aspect explained in the Dhamma. For example, in the Mahavedalla Sutta, so this point is highlighted. Rago ko avso nimitta karano, doso nimitta karano, moho nimitta karano. So when lust is operative in our mind, so it does this nimitta karana. So it, in a way, it's a kind of function of accepting these signs, picking these signs, selecting these signs. This whole operation is a function of lust. Doso nimitta karano. So when there is anger, a tendency of anger, ill will available in the mind, operative in the mind, it causes to pick the signs. It causes to sort of formulate the sign, select the particular necessary signs. Then moho nimitta karana. When there is ignorance available in the mind, so it causes to pick the signs, formulate the signs, select the signs. Now, say for example, a family simply watching a teledrama. Hope in Australia also you have it. In Sri Lanka we have it a lot. many teledramas in many channels. So that's what you are doing at night while you are having your dinner. So watching a channel, watching a teledrama. Suppose there are few people, grandmother, grandfather, father, mother, and daughter and the son. A full family. Okay? All are watching a particular teledrama. Suppose kind of a scenario, now they are showing a very beautiful old song. They are all listening to that, and that episode is now being shown. And then it is turned to some other, say, political something, currently ongoing an issue, and they are all talking, arguing, and there are a lot of protesting and this and that. All are there. Some burning current political issue. That's another episode in the drama. And then there's another couple going on, loving each other, fondling each other, holding everyone's hand, each other's hands. Another, that loving, romantic episode. That's also there. And then next, say a few kids are, jumping, laughing, playing, and all that. So another episode is there. So several episodes are there, bundled together and put it as so and so. So this is the beautiful teledrama. So all are watching, very much absorbed to it, jhana there. So while watching this, now I just have taken 4 episodes. So what is the reaction of the audience to these episodes? So when an old song being played and all that kind of old music and the past few years ago, 20 years ago, kind of an old music and all that is being played, who will be delighted in it? What do you think? Maybe the grandmother, grandfather may be delighted about it, because that is their, talking about their very early childhood and how they enjoyed all that, that their past memories come into the mind. They become quite happy by looking at it. But the father, mother, children, not much happy about it. And then there's that burning, political thing going on, issues going on. A father even come forward and maybe even increase the volume. So he may be quite interested of that, and even the mother. So mother probably want to prevent him on too much getting engaged. So they both may be fairly much interested about that episode. Then maybe about that loving, romantic thing, probably sometimes they may be interested. If the children are adults, they also may be interested, but not the grandmother, not the grandfather. So if there is another sports and all that, maybe the children are quite interested. So, but all are different, say, episodes. So who is the deciding factor? So why people are differently interested about these different episodes? Who is the deciding factor? Is it really the age matters, or more than that? That is where these internal, say, roots of the defilements come to the picture. So internally we are operative with this, influenced by with these different defilements. So they are the ones deciding, okay, I'm interested of this particular episode. I am interested of this particular episode. This is the important thing. This is the valuable thing. This is what I need to watch. It is not I am deciding it. It is being influenced by internal defilements. It's a very, very interesting psychological fact. So even though we think, okay, I need this, I need to watch this, and they may be even fighting to look at a particular teledrama or any other thing, because internally we are being influenced by these defilements. So rago ko nimitta karana, doso nimitta karana, moho nimitta karana. So the picking of the signs being influenced by the lust, picking of the signs being influenced by anger, picking of the signs, selecting of the signs, appreciating of the signs, being delighted by the signs, being influenced by delusion. So the defilements are playing a huge role here. Now, on the other hand, now the other thing is, now yesterday we discussed one result of picking the signs is that we need to express ourselves. Once we pick signs and once we recognize something, now I can't keep it to myself. I want to communicate with another person. I need to express it to another person. So as a result of that, we are coming up with letters, marks, different way of communication, and then words, sentences, languages. So somehow we are communicating with it. So different expressions are there. Now another interesting sutta called Samidhi Sutta. So there Buddha mentioned Akkeya Sanyino Satta, Akkeyasmin Patittita, Akkeye Aparinyaya, Yogamayanti Machu. This is another interesting area. Buddha explains, beings who perceive what can be expressed become established in what can be expressed. Now, we want to express, we are in a way recognizing, but then we want to express what we have recognized. And now what is available throughout, all around, are something we can recognize, all are already stored in the mind, and we can easily recognize. All the stored information, data is available. Ultimately, what happened? Beings who perceive what can be expressed. Now everything become expressible things. I can tell, okay, this is a clock, this is a mug, okay, that is a laptop. So all can be expressed. I can communicate, I can distinctly recognize all these different objects. People have given names to each and every one. So naming is there, labeling is there. So we all agree to that. As a society, as a group, we all give a name to that, a label to that. We have fixed that. Now we are the ones actually given names, but what happened is we basically become trapped in that. What can be expressed become our world. And we don't understand their real nature, but the names given, whatever the labels given become very prominent, very important to us. And we are the ones actually introduce them for our easy communication. But conventions become ultimately extremely valuable to us, important to us. And we give a truth to it. We give extreme value to it. And if someone wants to change it, then we never want to allow it. Because we are so adhered to it. We are so attached to that, whatever the convention. So convention become a reality. We get trapped in the convention. And there's a very beautiful old folk story Bhante Katakunda Jnanananda actually has highlighted. There's a situation that there were magicians. So they actually were walking in the forest and they saw a dead tiger. Only the little parts are available, skeleton was available. That's also scattered here and there. And 3 of them were there. And one taken the challenge, okay, I can combine all these scattered parts together. I can prepare the complete skeleton. Assume that little parts were all here and there, but now he's saying, okay, through my magical power, I can combine all these parts. Okay, he put the spell and it's done. Now the complete skeleton was prepared. Okay, the third fellow, he is saying, okay, now I can put the flesh and all the other, the body parts. I can put that so that it looks like it has just died. To that level I can put it. He's so competent. So he did all the spells and all that. It becomes, the tiger is very much like just died. So what is remaining? Still no life. The third fellow come forward, okay, I have the other challenge, okay, I can give him the life. So he gave the life. Next, okay, now the tiger is with full splendor and he can look around. I mean, for a long time didn't have some food. All three fellows are available, all three being killed. This is a very interesting folk story. So this is how our conventions are eating us in a way. So we are the human beings actually establishing these rules, establishing these all different conventions, giving various labels, various beautiful names. Ultimately, we become consumed by them. We are attacking to each other because of these conventions, these names, these labels, and we get trapped in it. And we can fight each other for a mere word, for a language issue, whatever a norm, what we have all agreed. If someone wants to change it, we can even fight each other, kill each other. It becomes so and so important. So very interesting how we are slowly get trapped in all these. And then some more things. Another important thing is its relevance to the thinking. So the obsessive thinking has a great impact coming from science. So there's a beautiful sutta called Kalahavivada Sutta. There one statement, Sanya Nidana Hi Papancha Sankha. So we actually think based on various concepts, and to formulate concepts, we are using science. So whenever I see something, then I can pick these signs, then all the concepts are remembered, and then I start thinking. I start pondering. I start remembering. I start fantasizing, fabricating, ultimately into the complete conceptual proliferation. So the signs very much like appear as a kind of a root. That's why Nidana Hi Papancha Sankha. Sanya Nidana Hi Papancha Sankha. So for these different concepts to formulate, so the signs become, it's very much the root cause. So signs therefore play a very big role in this whole sensory perceptions, how we are dealing with the whole world. And ultimately even our thinking, it has a very fair influence, a good impact coming in. And so when we take these signs to our mind, then we start thinking on it. But the problem is our senses are not capable of taking the exact truth, exactly what is there, but what is there being colored by our own perceptions, our own judgments, our own evaluations, our own tendencies, our own biases. So what we consume is a kind of mixture of all these, a kind of a distorted recognition. So Sanya Vipallasa is there, the kind of a distorted data that ultimately we have. Based on that now we are thinking, that is also distorted, Chitta Vipallasa. And based on that we come to a conclusion, that is also distorted, that is called the Dittha Vipallasa. Now the problem is, now we started with very basic little things, but based on that we come to a conclusion, that is what ultimately we are holding. So we have a particular perception about people, about government, about society, about this, about that. So we are holding various perceptions and we are bound to those perceptions. So perceptions, So typically the sanya is translated into perceptions in English, but the word sanya has many connotations, different meanings, starting with the very basic, say, signs, marks, and operating with them we are thinking and ultimately come to the perception. So perception become operative in our mind being conditioned now, and that is how we decide, that is how we think, that is how we operate. So perceptions are now playing a huge role in the mind. So I have a perception about you. You may have a perception about me. You may have a perception about the country. You may have a perception about the government. Perception about this, perception about that. So we are holding various perceptions about different things. So our mind is fairly conditioned, fairly colored now by various perceptions. So this is how we are operating in the whole world. That's why we need to understand we are fairly trapped, we are fairly conditioned, fairly colored, and now we have a task of releasing things, coming back to the source, understanding what has happened, how my mind being conditioned, how I am being influenced by all these different things. So that is why the Dhamma is utterly important. So all different techniques that Buddha in a way showing us are extremely valuable to us to understand this trap. Now let's get into few areas how to overcome all these. So that is actually what we hope to discuss all this time in the coming days. So let me begin with somewhere. So first thing, say the establishment of mindfulness. So you establish mindfulness, being aware what is going on, at least to some extent. So still we are operating at the conventional level, but we can't immediately wipe out all the kind of signs or perceptions. We have to start with somewhere where we are. We have to start with. So the establishment of mindfulness. So you avoid at least too much thinking, establish yourself to your body maybe. So try to simplify things, minimizing too much thinking. So in a way we are attacking from many directions, not a single direction. So we understood what are the repercussions of all these signs, but so all that different consequences now we are tackling in different ways, many different ways. So while taking our attention to a simple task, we are trying to minimize too much thinking, obsessive thinking in one way. Because task at hand is maybe we are giving it a value. Okay, I have to be mindful. I'm eating, okay, I'm mindful about it. So mind is fairly occupied in it. It's not that we understood the whole truth by eating, but at least mind is aware of it. Okay, I'm eating now. While walking, okay, I'm walking now. I'm sitting, okay, just sitting. Appear like very primitive. Someone can even argue, how are you going to attain enlightenment by doing this? Definitely, even nowadays, there's a video being shown in YouTube completely against very much the basic mindfulness. So how can you, challenge, or how can you simplify this much, this Buddha's beautiful word, sati, just to be mindful while walking, just to be mindful while eating, just to be mindful while walking? Appear like, yes, true. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. So we can't immediately go to the moon. So at least we have to know how to prepare, that paper rocket. So here we are trying to establish mindfulness. So Buddha come up with a kind of a formula here, step-by-step process. Okay, begin where you are. So be mindful. Don't allow your mind to too much think about the past, completely trapped in the past memories, not fantasizing about the future. Okay, just simplify your whole thinking process. Come back to this moment. Come back to the body. Develop the body awareness. So the body appear like a refuge, as an anchor. to at least to restrain the mind, too much obsessive thinking. Even though we can't go to extreme, say, depth yet, but still a little bit of calmness, a little bit of tranquility, a little bit of, say, feeling lighter by the mind. So just by establishing ourselves, paying attention, focusing our attention to whatever the simple task at hand. Now that is in a way the daily activities. So while walking, okay, establish mindfulness. While sitting, establish mindfulness. Or writing something, okay, try to be in that particular task. Very simple in a way. That is where we start with. And to further sharpen it, say you do a kind of a formal sitting. So you sit cross-legged, establish your mindfulness in the body. And as Chula Sunyata Sutta highlights, now try to forget about all the other burdening loads of information. It is now empty of all that political stuff, all that environmental, climatic stuff, what has happened in the past, what's going to happen in the future, all the vehicles and people and your job and this and that, all that. Now I have to purposely forget in a way, drop in a way. Now try to establish your mind in the body. So this is a body. So I am here at Jhana Grove. Okay, Jhana Grove related things are there. So in a way simplified. Unloading all unnecessary, too much information and simply occupying the mind with some little things, limited things. Somewhat all right. Then even taking it to the very body, it has only pains, maybe aches and feeling drowsy and feeling lethargic and here and there aches, pains, but that is good enough than thinking too much about the Jhana Grove related, monastery related, external stuff. Okay, you come back to the body. So now you are aware of the body. So this is placed like this is standing like this is sitting like this is walking like this. So developing the body awareness. So body become an anchor to the mind. So otherwise what happened once I open my eyes, again I am being carried away by what I see. When I hear various sounds, I am being again carried away by what I heard. Same thing, smells, tastes, other things. Now as again and again, so we are bringing our attention to the body, bringing our attention to the body, binding our attention in the body. Ajjattameva chittam santittati sannisidati eko dihot samadhi. So you are keeping your attention internally. Again and again bringing attention internally, establishing mindfulness internally. So in a way, a kind of a simplifying process. Even though we know Buddha's teaching is extremely deep, so we are going through a simplifying process, not complexing things or say complicating things. We already like complication, our mind prefers complication, but we are purposely now dropping things, de-learning things, unloading things and simplifying our attention to the body, establishing mindfulness in the body. And now I can feel the body. Okay, I'm aware of the body. Now assume that now you are practicing elements meditation, and there are also different elements are operative. Earth element, water element, fire element, air element. So these are the physical, say, elements operating in the body, any physical entity. So you are now recognizing how they are operating. So we are going to a more simplified area now. So in a way, when we have various names, I am so and so, my occupation is this, my education is this, my degree is this, I am a resident of this. So much of too much things are there in the mind, but Buddha, in a way, simplifying ourselves. So I am just, this whole body is nothing but 4 elements. For the time being, I am not much thinking about the mind, let it be. Vijnana element, the consciousness element, let it be for the moment. But now I am concerned about the 4 elements, the physical elements. So when I am step by step doing it, okay, maybe at a time, one element becomes prominent. Assume it is earth element. So you're now trying to be aware of the earth element characteristics. Hardness, softness, roughness, smoothness, heaviness, lightness. So further simplified. So other elements are now discarded for the moment. So I am operating only with one element. I'm fully aware of the earth element. Now another area. So when we are doing like this, so sometimes our mind might bring various beautiful sights, remember various things, because mind used to consume so much of information. Mind used to consume so much of perceptions, so much of beautiful stuff it liked. But right now what I am given is very dry, very boring stuff to consume. It may struggle, it may invite, it may try to be with all its fantasies. Suppose that you are practicing Anapanasati. So breathing, very boring, isn't it? That's why people are sleeping while paying attention to breathing. So even they are using it a mechanism to fall asleep. So it's a nice way of putting yourself to sleep. So typically meditation retreats are full of sleep. So it's very simple, appear like very primitive, very basic. The Buddha should have told something more. But I am supposed to just keep my attention on breath, very primitive. So mind may definitely struggle to jump to this and that. So when particularly the breath becomes subtler and subtler, it will simply invite so much of fantastic, maybe a Buddha image, very beautiful. Buddha is almost like trying to talk to me. So I am now opening my eyes. My goodness, Buddha was here to give me an instruction. Sadhu, sadhu. So I get trapped. Again, what a perception, a stored image, stored in my mind, fully taken by the mind, and I have given some appreciation to it, value to it. I get trapped again in concepts, again with a kind of a precept, a kind of a perception. So that's why while we are practicing Anapanasati, while we are practicing any kind of a Satipatthana, so as our mind refines, so there are many traps available, many pitfalls available. So if we give value to them, again we simply go off the track. That's why Buddha particularly highlight Marichikupama Sanya. So these perceptions, these sanya, these signs are like a mirage. So they appear like very beautiful, they appear like really real, but they are not. So when a particular image comes to the mind, it appears like very real. So when your in-breath, out-breath, all that become very subtle, so beautiful image appear in front of you that may be very beautiful, very attractive, almost like real. Depends on the character. So if you are a faith character, so these faith-related images can appear. Like a Buddha image, like a, say, pagoda, like a Bodhi tree, or maybe some deities, celestial beings. All these things are possible. And even different sounds are possible, like chanting. So even those can be heard. But it doesn't mean everyone would go through all this. It depends. But if you are an anger character, probably maybe certain say dangerous kind of an image, little maybe a corpse or something like that. Such things could be possible. So depending on our character, different things might appear because the object what we are paying attention becomes subtler and subtler. So if we give value to that, if we think, okay, someone has come to give me instructions, okay, a Buddha has come, a monk has come, a Brahma has come to give me instructions, then I start communicating with him. So it becomes something for me. Next time also I am sitting just to establish that communication with him. When my breath calms down, that image appear, it becomes my way of communication. So it will start telling me this and that. Okay, do this, do that, do this, do that. This is the way to do it. This is the way to do that. And one can start maybe a forecasting kind of predictions related business. Or you can start with giving medicines, predicting medicines using some psychic power. So many businesses are there available, and we lose the path. It's a very common area that we meditators ultimately, or other meditators, go wrong in a way. Because these things are very beautiful, these things are very attractive, and we easily get deluded by them. Because breath appear very dry, very smooth, almost like unperceivable. At that time, everything is very boring. So what appear become very prominent. Easily we again go and trap in perceptions. So even though we come to develop mindfulness, so now we end up with a completely different wrong path. So again, the perceptions are really harmful in that way. So actually we rarely got the opportunity to practice, but ultimately we end up with completely deluded path. So that is where the Satipatthana has to be kept very simple in a way, very direct. We should not add too many things to it. If you added too many things to the technique, it becomes a burden. It becomes more complicated. If your mindfulness technique is too complicated, then it's not going to work. So that the technique becomes very, very easy in a way, very, very simple. So simplicity takes you to the profundity. It's not that kind of a complicated thing takes you to more profound understanding, but rather simplicity will take you to more profound understanding. So it will operate like the completely opposite the way we think. So how we think is how, if things are very complicated, really, complex, it will take us to a kind of a profound understanding. But the difference is that once the mind becomes very soft, gentle, lucid, clear, it will take us to, and even silent, still, it will take us to more deep understanding. Quite different the way that we think. That's why we have to be very humble in a way to drop many things, to abandon many things, to allow the teaching to operate in us, rather than we trying to put our own perceptions into it, our own judgments into it. Let the teaching purify us, rather than we are trying to manipulate it. Now say we are doing like that, say we heard it, now we are trying to do it. Now next time when we practice Anapanasati, say different images appear, so I was fully aware of it. I know it's a mirage, not the real something, so I drop it. I either put myself into the body or establish mindfulness back on the breath. Even if I can't let go of it, I at least can open my eyes. Because what I see is only through my eyes. So when my eyes are closed, if I can see something, it is mind-made something. It is a kind of an illusory thing. It's a kind of an hallucination. So why am I giving value to a hallucination? So the visualizations in a way is not the path. Hallucinations are not the path. Visuals are not the path, but development of the body awareness are very much a tangible stuff. You can verify the body. It's very fundamental. You can be with the body, you can touch the body, so you can feel the body. So that's why the Kayanupassana is a very direct path. So Satipatthana Ekayana Magga, a kind of a direct path. Doesn't have too many things in a way. It's not fabricated with so much of, very beautiful, wonderful things. It's taking us a direct path. a very simple, direct path. But we have to convince ourselves, okay, my mind doesn't like it. My mind likes the complexity. My mind likes fabrications. My mind likes perceptions. But the path is very direct, very simple, coming back to the body, establish mindfulness in the body. We are starting with that. And then another area is the sense restraint. So already by using our senses, we have accumulated so much of things into the body, into the mind. So the senses, even though they are the ones picking all these signs, none of the signs remain in the senses, but ultimately they go and stored in the mind. So already my mind is corrupted. So let the senses be used in a mindful way. So let me be little careful about my usage of the senses. Even though I can see many things, let me restrain what I see. Even though I can hear things, let me restrain what I am going to hear. Even though I can smell, taste, touch, even think many things, let me have a little bit of restraint. So this is where the sila comes to the picture. So I have to maintain certain amount of moral standard. Rather than allowing the senses to operate as the way they want, let me guard the senses. That's why the guarding the senses, the indriya guttata, the protecting the senses, guarding the senses come to the picture. So we have to understand what's the real value for the sila in a way. So we have to guard the senses. Even though we have all the opportunities, even enough money to buy this and that, enjoy the senses, gratify the senses, ultimately we have to pay. One day if you want to purify yourself, if you have loaded so much of things, gratifying so much of senses, all that being stagnated or accumulated in the mind, one day I have to work for that. My aim is to purify the mind. That's why we have to understand what's the situation right now, how I have used my senses. As a result of that, what has happened right now, then I have to take responsibility, at least not to further destroy it, further pollute it. That's why the sense restraint is important. So sense restraint is in that way, plays a fair role there. And once the mindfulness is established, so that same Malung Keputta, so he is giving a very beautiful way, the poetic way he mentioned it. Naso rajyati rupesu, rupang disva patissato. So naso rajyati rupesu. When a person with established mindfulness, he too can see, he too can hear, he is still operating in the world, and he see things, but with established mindfulness. So he tried to be aware, I am in the present moment, I can see things now. Rupan disva patissato. So he is with established mindfulness, still he can see things. Viratta citto vedeti. But now he does not allow the mind to get infatuated. Rather, he guard the mind. Even though he see things, he know the potential now. He know the danger. Previously, when I see without established mindfulness, I get trapped. I start thinking, I start imagining, end up with maybe a quarrel. Let me guard myself. Be careful. Now I see, okay, now I am aware, okay, this kind of a situation is going to happen. Let me be careful. Certain attention is there. Pancha najjo saya tittati, so he is not allowing the mind to go and completely trapped in it, adhere in it, rather he safeguard himself. Not allowing the mind to go and delight in it, rather prevent it. So he has certain amount of mindfulness already now. So mindfulness operates as a guardian, as a protector. So it is very much like now being with us. Yatasa passato rupam sevato chapi vedanam. So as we see that whatever the form, if there is any kind of a feeling arisen, still, So if I see a beautiful picture, so it can cause certain happiness in me. So you are now aware of the feeling. Okay, now there's happiness going to arise. I'm a bit happy about what has happened. But the instruction is, kiyati no pachiyati. Evam so charati sato. So Buddha say, so you are working in a way not to develop that happiness, not to develop that delight, rather let it go, rather let it fade away. Because what is arisen, if I am getting delighted, if I am starting thinking about it, again I get trapped. So I know the danger, so whatever arisen, now I allow it to fade away. Kiyati no pachiyati, I am not going to accumulate it, I am not going to fuel it, feed it, rather I am going to drop it. Evam apachinato dukkham. So the dukkha, the suffering, whatever the agitation which could happen is not available now. You are not promoting it. Santike nibbanam uchati. You are getting closer to nibbana. You are getting more closer to the peacefulness. So the operation is very much like we have to be aware. So evam so charati sato. So one has to continue one's days, complete day, with some amount of mindfulness. Have to be aware of what's going on right now. Maintaining mindfulness. Because still I am not an arahant. Still the defilements are there. Still the last hatred delusion is available. They may tempt me to do this, do that. Be happy about it. So still the danger is available. But mindfulness operating as a protector, as a guardian, warning me. Okay, you are going to get trapped. You are going to react like this. Last time also you reacted like this. Be careful. It is guarding me. It is helping me, giving me a warning. So be prepared for the situation. And if you are doing like this, then there's a fair chance not to get caught again, but to, if something happened, not to react to it. So as we probably discussed already, suppose I didn't have much mindfulness already established. So what has seen has provoked me. Immediately anger has arisen. Possible, because there may be a reason, because naturally the mind is tempted to pick the signs, because last anger, hatred, those are still available, so they pick the signs. The action happened very quickly, recognition happened quickly, thinking happened very quickly, emotion roused to higher level very quickly. All these things happen very quickly. Now we are explaining things because Buddha has explained things step by step, but these things to happen in our mind, it won't take long time. Whenever we see someone which we don't like, immediately the anger can arise. So we quickly took the signs and thought, recognized, everything happened, everything's quickly happened. But the point is, at least when we have developed mindfulness, so we can at least at one level we be aware, oh my goodness, again anger has arisen, again some agitation has happened. I'm going to again hit the person. I'm going to again argue with the person. Can I stop? Can I avoid it? So like that, now I have a choice to operate. Rather than simply being a victim to that whole thing, now I have at least a choice, step back and see it. Not to again get victimized to that anger. Okay, I have a little chance to stop it. Further development of the mindfulness has a fair chance for you to get that trigger at its early stage. So the anger is there, but you know it, you recognize it, you notice it at a little early stage. Then you have a fair choice. Burning is less. Have a fair choice to operate. Okay, anger is there. Okay, now I know how to handle, but you are not burning. Maybe you skip the path, you go to a different direction and you don't want to face the person. Because I am not yet sure about how I am going to react to when I am being with that person. Okay, you can take a simple action because still you are not confident about yourself. You can skip the situation. Another time, say as we further develop, say we may be able to recognize anger at its initiation, at its very early stage. Probably by that time, you can even deal with with the person, maybe even in a positive way, because you know, even while talking, even while being with that person, you are looking after yourself. You are aware of yourself. Even though you are talking, even though you are interacting, you have a kind of another thread going on in looking after yourself, being aware of what is going on in your own mind. How am I reacting? How am I talking? So likewise, the mindfulness development is one area to overcome all the problems that we already have discussed. So the mindfulness appears as a very good solution in this area. So even though I am using the term mindfulness, it has a broader meaning. So the development of Satipatthana in that sense has a good solution in that. So there are many areas that we need to discuss in this whole sutta. So we will discuss one by one, step by step. So with that, I will conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for attentive listening. Okay, today also we have spent fair amount of time developing mindfulness, developing concentration, developing wisdom, and again participating into a Dhamma discussion and listening to a Dhamma sermon. And some of you are already participated in offering dana, etc. So all the merits that we have accumulated, we will share with all the celestial beings, with all the past relatives, and whoever in need of merits. And we wish these merits help us also to understand the Buddha's teaching and practice it to the best of our ability, and to understand or realize path, fusion, nibbana. We will recite the traditional verses. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe devatanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavataca amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu sasanam. Akasattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu desanam. Sattha ca bummattha deva naga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu mam parang. Idang vo nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang vo nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang vo nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.